All right, welcome back. We are web game programming. It's COMP397 in the winter 2020 semester at Centennial. And this week 11, part 1 of our broadcast, we're going to be talking about firing bullets. But first, let's talk about a couple things. First of all, let's talk about due dates again. So one thing I've done is if you go up on eCentennial, then from an assignments perspective, there are so part 3 or part 4 of our assignment, which is the alpha release, was already due, but part 5 is what's due now. And if I go to content and if I go to you guys, week 11, you can see that the beta release, I put it here in this place right here. The beta release is due this Sunday. I've kind of moved it to this Sunday, and that way it gives you an extra day to kind of put things in. So that's when it's due, Sunday at midnight. I also have the peer review for, which is also going to be due on Mondays. By Monday, if you guys can get the peer review done, that would be great. And I just got to just shift around here to get some batteries for my little guy. Okay. Little guy, say thank you. All right, there you go. So yeah, so that's when it's due. Also, just a reminder that your assignment number 2, that's going to be due next week at midnight. Next week, Saturday at midnight. That's when your assignment 2 is due. So that's all the stuff that's due. I moved this one, part 5, the beta release, off till tomorrow because some people had asked for an additional day, and I'm okay with that. Okay, so that's kind of what's happening. With that, any questions or concerns around that? I'm just looking over here at my chat. Are you guys all okay? Okay, I guess so. No one's saying anything, so I guess we're okay. Let's continue. So that's one thing I want to talk about. The other thing is I want to work with the project that we've been working on before. So we're going to make a new project. So going to go to Centennial. 11B was the other group. Let's make 11C, and that'll be you. So again, so don't download yet. COMP397, W2020, lesson 11C. That's you guys. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab the files that we already have, we've already made. So that is under COMP397. I have your last week's 10C. I'm going to copy this. Here's some other people coming in now. That's good. And paste it. And we're going to make 11C from it in a second. So here's 10C. We're going to make 11C just like we normally do. It's all regular stuff. So again, we're bringing up VS Code. And we're just going to drag and drop 11C in it. There we go. And just like normal, I'm just going to press Control Backtick, and I'm going to remove the origin remote and get the new information from GitHub. So that is there. Sorry. So grab these two last lines of code here, like I just did. Go back, and then right-click and paste. And what this is going to do is going to push off everything that we have so far on the master. Don't get it yet, because I'm going to make some updates. So in our package.json, what I want to do is I want to change this to 11C, lesson 11. And also in my index.html, I just want to grab this and make that 11 as well, because that's something that we're making. And now I can update that as part of my update. So I say updated project settings. Okay, and then I'll put that up on GitHub. So for you're going to download stuff, please download everything from GitHub at this point if you want to keep up with me and be on track. Okay. So again, what we have now is this. We have 32 commits, okay, up online, and we have all of this that we've been using so far, okay. And last week when we got together, and thank you for joining today. I do appreciate the challenges that people are having in this new time to join and to participate in everything else. I know there's some of the other students from the previous class were saying how it's been very challenging, that work is getting very busy and so on. I understand, and I do appreciate that everyone came out today. So let's continue. And before we continue, actually, I just want to turn that on. So I see the people that have joined. Excellent. Okay. So yeah, so what we have to do first, starting off, is Control-Shift-B, like we normally do in this. Now, I'm assuming that you have last week's lesson, and you can continue from there, or I can put it up. So this is it building. And then what I want to do is in my PowerShell, I want to launch our light server, which is going to show us the game so far. So there it is, and you can see that we have the game moving. We talked about last week was all about animation and how we got that going. So you can watch that video, and we made the little propellers animate. It was pretty simple. We didn't change a lot. And one thing we also talked about last week was this texture packer application. So texture packer, I talked to you about this, and I highly recommend it. It's not free, but what you can do is you can go up online and download a free trial. If there's 2 or 3 people on the same team, each free trial is about a week, and you can shift it around so you can use it just for now to try it out. However, I do recommend that you, if you're interested in doing more 2D stuff for mobile as well as the web or anything else, Texture Packer is going to be your friend. So we talked about how to use Texture Packer last week a little bit, and what this does is just drag and drop your sprites on here. You decide on a format. Here I have it actually is Easel.js, and Create.js is supported as a format, which is really cool. We can output an atlas.json file and an atlas.png, and that kind of looks like this. And then we can kind of cycle through. We can pick each of the sprites on the sprite atlas or the sprite sheet, texture atlas, and we know the position of where they start, and we can connect these frames together to create an animation. And the way that's done is inside of your scripts. This is just a little bit of review. Game.ts. We load our ocean, and then we load our atlas, and the atlas has these frames that have been defined, right? Each of these frames. Each frame is really just a position, X and Y, as well as a width and height of where I'm looking on the sprite sheet, right? So we start frame counting at 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And if you notice, the bullet is frame 0. We're going to focus on that today, the bullet. And we have a button, a generic button. We have a cloud that's here. You can see that the cloud is bigger, so here's the width and the height, right? And then followed by the island. Island is fairly the same size almost as the plane, 62 by 63. We have a placeholder asset, and then we have 3 plane frames, frame 4, 5, and 6, or sorry, 5, 6, and 7. These are 5, 6, and 7. Okay, and then followed up by 2 buttons, the restart button and the start button. Restart button and the start button. And this is just where they are on the sprite sheet. So again, going back to Texture Packer, this will be your sprite sheet, and then the buttons are positioned, or the objects are positioned in the sprite sheet at certain places, and all you have to do is go up in that sprite sheet. You're looking it up, and you're going to load the different textures from the sprite sheet. And that's why sprite sheets are also called texture maps. That's what they are. Okay. All right, so that's our texture atlas more than anything else. Okay, so so that is how it works, and I didn't make any of this stuff up. This is from easel.js. So if you go up online to easel.js's, right? So again, let's go to easel.js docs. So I'm going to go up to the web and look that up. So if I go easel.js docs, you can simply see that easel.js documents how to do sprite sheets. If I go to sprite sheet here, you can see that what it has is it talks about how the frames work and what each frame means and how to put together an animation. Notice that you can specify a run animation with the beginning and end frames, or you can specify all the frames. Here's a walk animation that specifies all the frames in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. You can reuse the frames. All this is doing is pointing at different parts of the sprite sheet in order for you to do this cycle of animation. And each frame is a keyframe. That's what it is, a keyframe of animation. And you can see here that you have a couple of other things. You have a shoot animation, so there's a walk animation and a shooting animation, and the shoot animation basically has different, starts with the same start frame as the walk animation, frame 1, let's say, and then 4, 5, and 6 does maybe the shooting, whatever that animation looks like. And then we also have another option, another property we can add in called next, which can kind of go to the next animation, which starts off the walk animation again. So you can go back to walking. And you can also specify a frame rate for the entire sprite sheet if you want. And that's kind of where we got all this. This is where all this came from. So sprite data is really information and almost like a map of where everything is on the sprite sheet. That's what this is. Okay. To cheat a little bit, we also made something called ocean data last week, and ocean data just looks at one frame. We kind of set this manually because our ocean is quite large. It's 640 by 1440, and including this on one big sprite sheet would actually reduce our performance rather than enhance it. So I just made another little sprite sheet here called ocean data. It's a trick because it's not really a sprite sheet, it's just another texture. But I'm using it as a sprite because I don't want to create more game objects. So our game object superclass, as an example, here's our game object superclass. It's now a sprite. So game objects are not just bitmaps, they're sprites. And because our ocean is also a sprite, here's our ocean. It's also a game object. That means I had to convert it into a sprite, and that's why I made that little trick so that we wouldn't have multiple game objects. One that's a sprite, one that's not a sprite. Okay, so that's kind of a review of what we did last week. Also, we do preloading. We preload everything, and then when we're done preloading, we have those two sprite sheets. So one of them is the sprite data from all of the other images, plus then the sprite data just from the ocean. Those are the two cases that we have. And we're saving the sprite sheets, both the texture atlas as well as the ocean atlas, inside of the global config file. And the global config file is under config game.ts. Here it is. This is the global config file, and we're just kind of saving this information so we can access it from anywhere. Okay, so that's what we did last week. So this week what we want to do is build a bullet. And in order for us to do that, let's do a little bit of investigation about how the bullet's going to work. So I'm just going to bring up my trusty fireworks. So here's fireworks. Again, you can use any manipulation program you want. And I'm going to go into our little project and go into assets. I'm going to go into images for now, and I'm going to pull up the ocean image just to give you some realistic view of what it looks like. So here's our ocean, and then we have our plane, let's say. So I'm just going to copy and paste it onto the ocean. There it is. So here's our plane. And I have a bullet. Here's my bullet. This is all inside your assets, by the way. So there's nothing for you to add. Here's my bullet. Oops. So my plane, and here's my bullet, and it's going to ask me to resample. Don't resample. And where is my bullet? Bullet. Oh, there it is, right on the top. And let's do a couple things. Let us put this back here, and let's just lock that. There we go. This is my bullet. The bullet looks mostly red, but actually it's not really red. If you notice, it's red with yellow around it. So I'll make it so that it looks the same. Okay, so There. That's kind of what the bullet really looks like. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to position the bullet somewhere in front of the plane. So if this is the plane, I don't want the bullet to start here, right, on the middle of the plane. That would be where it would normally start. If I said, go pull the bullet on the plane's position, I could certainly do that. And the bullet will fire up. Okay, that's what's going to work. Now, if I had enemy bullets, they would fire down. But whenever I go up with a bullet, that means that the velocity is going to be negative. Okay, that's what's going to happen, because on the y-axis, the bullet would move up the y-axis, which means it's going in a negative direction, up. Okay. Also, I want a spawn location for the bullet. Now, you could have multiple bullets. You can have one here, let's say, and one here. They spawn up this way, okay? Or you can have one from here. You can also have bullets that fire diagonally this way, okay? So you can have bullets that fire this way and this way. Or maybe they have some kind of swirling pattern where they do some kind of sinusoidal movement like this. It's up to you how you want to make your bullets work. For me today, what I'm going to make it so is there's going to be a spawn point in front of the plane, like right here, and the bullet's going to fire straight up. Okay, so pretty straightforward. So that's the plan. So that means I need a spawn point in front of the plane for me to make this work. Okay, so let's go back and start off with the code. All right, so again, I'm going to go back here. We don't have a bullet, but I'm going to make a new one. So I'm going to say in here, we're going to make a new class called bullet.ts. Okay, so there it is. And our module is going to be the objects module. And I'm going to export a new class called the bullet class, which is going to extend objects dot game object. Okay, this is all normal stuff. We need to talk about some private instance members. We also want to talk about some public properties. And then a constructor, followed by private methods and public methods. So this is the kind of the structure that I always take whenever I do this kind of stuff. I always go through this little pseudocode thing, so to make sure that I have everything that I need. Now the bullet is glowing red like this. I got a little underline, and the reason for this is because it needs to implement the inherited abstract class, so I can do that. And what this does, of course, is it gives me all these members. I'm just going to respace everything and take away all these throws. I don't want to care about throwing errors right now. And I can reposition them. I know that these three are public functions, so I'm going to copy those and put them inside this area here. Give them a little space. And then checkbounds is a private function, protected actually, so we can put that here. I also need a private move function because I'm going to move the bullet. Okay, so those are all things that normally will happen. I also need a vertical speed. I need that and some other things. So let's take a look at the island, which gives me a good example of how to do a class, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel here. I want to have a kind of a template. So let's take a look at island for this. So if I look at island, here's the island. I'm just going to split screen here. So I'm going to make this go on the other side over here. And so now I have island on the right and bullet on the left, and just make sure, I think we need some kind of vertical speed, except my vertical speed is going to be negative. So I'll put that in. I want that for sure. I definitely want to call the super constructor and the start function. So I'll definitely do those two things in the bullet class, right? If that makes sense. Outside. Oh yeah. How about if I put it in the right spot? Haha. I meant to put it into the constructor function, but we don't have a constructor yet. It's here. Actually, let's copy this whole constructor. That might just make it easier, because it's exactly the same, except it's not loading the bullet or the island, it's loading the bullet. Okay, so that's all the same. So bullet, start. Okay. Checkbounds, we're gonna talk about this in a bit. Movement, this will be the exact same. So when I move the bullet, My move function is literally going to be the same, right? Because it's going to be, hey, I want to take the position and then I want to add some velocity to it every frame. Okay, so I'm adding velocity and I'm changing the position so it leaves the screen. That's what's going to happen, right? Okay, cool. That's the movement function. Excellent, excellent, right? And now the start method. So the start method, well, let's take a look. So the start method says it's the type, vertical speed, a velocity, and a reset. Let's take these first three. I like those three. The reset, not so much, and I'll talk about why in a second. And instead of an island, we want to go to definition. We don't have a bullet. I want to add a bullet in here, so I'll add it to the bottom. So bullet. This is in our enumeration. I just went go to definition, and it took me to the enum, which is game object type .ts. The way I did that, by the way, is I literally went here and I right-clicked on the enumeration and went to go to definition, and that took me there. Okay, so now I can change it from island to bullet, right? So that's the type, and this is for collision management purposes. Okay. So far so good. The update is going to do move and check bounds for now. So this is the same, move and check bounds. We're going to fix the check bounds in a bit. Reset, it's not going to be reset. So I've got everything I need. I can close off the island class. And this is what I have so far. So again, it starts off with vertical speed. I have a constructor function with the bullet. Guys, and by the way, if you need a question to be asked, just you can chat. You can put something on chat. I can see it. Or if you really want to, you can unmute yourselves and ask a question or stop me. But just to know that I am recording on YouTube, so you'll be recorded. Okay, so here's my texture atlas, and then there's the bullet that I want to go to. I want to start a new vector 0, 0, and it's true. That means it's centered. And then I add to my position. I take my position and add my velocity every single frame. I'm adding my velocity, and then the bullet. Initially, it's going to start off with a speed of 5, but I want to subtract 5. My velocity is going to have to be actually negative. I'm going to subtract 5 every frame. That's what this is going to do. Okay. And then I'm going to move in check bounds. And check bounds, the way it's going to work is like this. It's going to say, okay, let's check the upper bound. Check upper bounds. And we're also going to check the lower bounds. We've already done the lower bound check, but I'll do it again. So in the upper bounds case, when the bullet moves up the screen, right, we want this if statement. If my position, so this dot position dot y on the y-axis, if that is less than or equal to outside of the bounds, so that's 0 minus the height of the bullet minus this dot full height. So I want to get out of the bullet. Out of the screen. If that's true, then I want to call this dot reset, right? That's when I want to call reset. Okay, so I reset the bullet. I do something with the bullet at that point. It leaves the screen. I reset the bullet. Okay, next. If this dot position dot y is greater than or equal to the screen height, so config dot game dot screen height, and then plus the height of the bullet, this dot height. So that means it's fully off the screen. Then and only then do I want to reset. And now you're going to say to yourself, wait a minute, Tom, you said that this moves up the screen. How come are you checking for lower bounds? Well, the reason for this is I'm going to want my bullet to be very flexible. What if my bullet class can be used to make a bullet that goes down or up to the sides? Some really weird kind of bullets, right? So for now, I only have 2, upper bounds and lower bounds, but theoretically I can have all the bounds, left, right. So if my bullet leaves the screen somehow, then it resets. That's what it means. Okay. So for now, just these 2. So yeah, then what happens is it resets, but we don't know what reset happens. Well, what I want on reset is that the bullet is going to go off screen somewhere. So it's going to go to, so this dot position is going to be equal to a new object, actually we'll just object dot vector to object, and the position is going to be -1000 and -1000. You're like, wait, -1000? Why is it like that? Well, it's off screen somewhere. So I'm not actually destroying bullets here. I'm going to use something called a bullet pool. And this is the idea behind it. So this is the bullet, but I want to reuse all my bullets. I want to have, let's say, 50 or 100 bullets, and I just want to reuse them all the time. I don't want to make new ones. Why? Because of memory fragmentation. And to read up about this, bullet pool and any kind of object pooling is an optimization. It's an optimization method. And if you look at game programming patterns, I've pointed this book out before. It's up online. And if you look at object pooling is an optimization method. What it does is it creates a, when you instantiate memory, instantiate an object and then destroy it, what you're actually doing is creating memory fragmentation. And what memory fragmentation does, it actually creates a little bit of instability, or you take a bit of a performance hit over time. So we don't want to do that. Instead, what we want to do is we want to use the same bullet over and over again. And this article is a great article, and it talks about how to create a bullet pool. Now, the code that you're seeing here is C++, but if you read the code, you can use it as pseudocode, and it works fine with any language. Okay, so that's where I'm going. I want to make a bullet pool. So as such, if I reset all my bullets when they're off screen to -1000, -1000, well, they're not going to stop moving, right? They're going to keep moving forever, because move is going to keep doing that. Every time they update, they're going to keep moving forever, right? So we need some way. Of detecting when a bullet is active, so in flight, let's say, and a bullet that's inactive, right? We're going to have bullets that are active and inactive. The active bullets are the ones that are going to be on the screen. The inactive bullets are the ones that are going to be off screen, whether they hit an obstacle, like an enemy, or they hit the ship, the plane. Once they take a hit, they're going to be inactive. They're going to be just reset somewhere off screen, and we're going to reuse these bullets over and over again. So in order for me to do that, I could make active and inactive a thing here. But you know what? When you think about it, active and inactive can be something that every class, every object should have, right? I should be able to turn on and off objects, or update or not update objects as I want, right? So therefore, this might be a good thing to add into my game object superclass. Let's do that. So objects, I'm going to go into my game object superclass here, and I'm going to modify it so we can add in a new property that, for the first time. So again, we're not making a game engine, but this is an opportunity for us to update the game object superclass. So prop, we're going to make a new value called is active. This is very similar to is colliding and is centered. The type is going to be a Boolean, right? There's my type. I'm going to take this part actually and put it inside kind of the same structure over here. So here's my Booleans, as an example. These are all private instance members. A bunch of numbers that I have for width, height, half width, and half height, and position and velocity. And you could actually split this off and do some commenting here. But is active is something that I want to keep track of. Also, I want to have a getter and setter for is active, so I can set the bullet active or not. All right. So again, I can cut this out and go down below where I have my velocity, let's say, or sorry, my is colliding and is centered, and that's where it probably belongs, somewhere around here. So I'm just going to put those in there. So they're part of the properties now. Okay, so is active is a property, right, that I can access. So by default, it needs to be updated. So by what is the default value of is active? And by default for now, we're going to set this is active to false. So everything starts off false until you bring it into view, and then when it becomes into view, it becomes true. I'm not going to change this for all the other game objects right now. We really only need it for bullets, but we could use it in the future for all the other game objects as well. Okay, where we can set it active or inactive. Okay, so that is this new property we had, and now I can use it in the bullet class. So I can say that by default it's inactive, right? By default it's inactive, but only if the bullet is active do I want to update it. So I can say that, okay, if is active, if that's true, only then do I want to move it or check bounce. I don't want to check bounce if it's inactive, Okay. And as such, when I move this off, when I reset this, I want to set it to inactive. This dot active, so is active, is equal to false. I want to say that it's inactive, right? When I reset it. So it could have been active while it was moving, and as soon as it leaves the screen, as an example, as soon as it leaves the screen, then it becomes inactive. So when it's on the screen, I can make it active. I can set it as active if I want to do that. And then as soon as it leaves the screen again, like by default, when it starts off, you can see immediately, it's inactive. Okay, and I can do that. I can set the initial position, and that's what I'd rather do than the reset. I don't want to reset here. Okay, I don't want to reset. I just want to set the initial position to what it should be, and I'll talk about that, because if I set this as if I reset the position, if I reset, then I'm going to say it's inactive right away. Its activity is false, and therefore it's not going to update this, which is good. Okay, so actually it's okay to do it maybe. This dot reset, and what this dot reset is, it sets it to -1000, -1000. That's what it does by default, and then sets is active to false. So then it will ignore the update. It won't do the update anymore, and not in the beginning anyway. It won't update anything. It'll ignore this whole loop. Okay, does that make sense? So when a bullet, only if a bullet is active, will I have it move or do anything. Okay, so that's really the bullet class for now. That's all it does. It just makes a bullet and then it just fires up. That's all it does. This is a little bit concerning, right? But we'll talk about this in a sec. Okay. So questions around bullet.ts and what it does. I'm looking to the chat window if you want to add anything in. Okay, so no questions. I'll continue. So let's do the next part. So let's put this, make it accessible. We're going to go into the index.html and we're going to add it as an object. So we're going to go into game object. We're going to go to script source, and we're going to go /scripts/objects /bullet, and that's going to be added in. So bullet.js. Okay, so now we can use our bullet. We should probably test to see if we can make a bullet. So before we do anything else, we should go into our scene. So we're going to go into scenes, and I'm going to go into my play scene, and at the top of the play scene, to test the bullet, I'm going to make it just a temporary bullet. So private _bullet is of type objects. Wow, I can't type today at all. Objects.bullet. There it is. And then I'll do the regular things that we normally do. So I'll go into start, and I figure that the bullet should be at the same position as the plane. So somewhere around here is where we should instantiate. I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's a bullet, but we'll say this dot bullet is equal to a new objects.bullet. So we make it, right? And then I want to add it to the scene. So I'm going to go into my main function, and then around the same place as the plane, I'll add the bullet to the scene. So I'll say this dot add child, this dot _bullet. So let's make it appear. Also, just since we're adding this in and testing it, I'll add a position for the bullet on screen. So I'll say that this dot _bullet dot position, right? And we'll say that the position is equal to a new objects.vector2 object, and we'll say it's at 320 by 240, so in the middle of the screen. Okay, so that's where it's going to start off. So we're going to quickly see this bullet, and then it's going to go up the screen and disappear. So that's what it should do. Let's test it and see if it works. So again, going back to our screen here, let's go back to our game, and we'll refresh it one more time, and then start, and we should see the bullet. Hey, but what happened? How come the bullet didn't move? At least it's there, right? Well, the bullet didn't move because we never called the update function. So let's call the update function here. This dot _bullet dot update like normal. There's my update function. So save, and let's go back and try it again. So update. Wait. update. What? How come it's not moving? What? Well, of course it's not going to move. What didn't we do? We didn't set it as active, right? So let's go back and set it as active. So when we make a bullet, what we want to do is we want to set the bullet as active as soon as it gets added to the scene. So we'll say, hey, let's add the bullet to the scene here, but we're going to set it as active up here. So this is something we have to do. Remember to do this. This dot underscore bullet dot is active is equal to true. If it's not active, it's not going to update, like we said, right? This is what we have to do. So these are the three things we're going to have to do every time. So we're making a new bullet. We position it in the spawn position of the plane. We set it as active, and then let it fly. Okay, let's see if that works. So refresh and start, and there it goes, right? Left the scene, and it's gone. Okay, and notice you don't see it anymore over here. So questions around the bullet, that's really what a bullet is. It just literally, it's an object that just goes straight up every single time. So let's put this up on GitHub. So here we added a bullet. These are all the changes we made to make that happen. So I'm going to add all this to the staging area, and we'll say added bullet class. Yeah. But I don't want to make bullets like this. Like I said, I want to make a bullet manager class. A bullet manager class. And for that, we need a new class, a new file called bullet manager. Now, by the way, notice I have managers, collision, and scoreboard. Scoreboard manager, collision manager, bullet is enough. We don't have to have bullet manager, right? So bullet, this is just the naming, bullet manager. So under the bullet class, we want to make a new module. It's under managers. We want to make a new class that we're going to export called bullet, right? So export class. It's the same name, right? Bullet, but it's a bullet manager. So in the manager's namespace, not in the object's namespace. Bullet. It's not going to extend anything because it's going to be its own thing. Okay. Again, we have some private instance members. We have some public properties. We might have a constructor, and we might have some private methods as well as public methods. Okay, we want to add all this stuff in here, and this is all the stuff that we want for our bullet class. Okay, if that makes any sense. So what we want to do here is we want to define some of this stuff. So let's think about what we want to do here. So I want to have a structure that holds the bullet pool. All right. So if I was going to draw this for you, right? Let's just draw it out. All right. So let's draw it almost like a whiteboard. So let's suppose I have a container. So here's my container, right? And I want to have a bunch of bullets in here. Okay, so let's grab that bullet object. Let's see if I can actually copy paste. I don't think I can, but here's this, copy, and I'm going to go in the container and paste it. Yeah, I can, but it's really small. So let's make it like way bigger. Okay, so here's my bullet, right? And, you know, as an example, so there's my bullet. And I'm going to have a bunch of bullets here, like this one. So let's just... I'll lasso this one. I'll do one of these, and I'll just do one of these here like this. So I will copy this one, and let's just paste them in a bunch of places. So paste it, move it down, paste it, move that down. Right. So we have all this container of bullets. Let's just suppose, right? So just to demonstrate this thing. So I have all these bullets, right? Let's say I have some amount of containers. Let's say we have 50 bullets. Okay. And with my 50 bullets, what I want to do is this. I have the top of my container, right, which is, and think about this as a queue or a stack. I like to think about it as a queue, right? And by the way, queues don't really exist in JavaScript. We have arrays, but arrays can act like queues, kind of. So does anyone remember what a queue is? And you guys can type it in. What's a queue? What does this look like? Anyone want to volunteer an answer? You can put it on the chat. You guys are very quiet today. Okay, well, I'll answer, I guess. So a queue is a line, right? So it's first come, first serve, or first in, first out. That's kind of like what a queue is like. Okay, first in, first out, or a FIFO is what it's called, right? So what you have is there's objects that are on the back of the queue. So objects down here on the back of the queue. So we push an object at the end of the queue. So let's put that in there. So we push whatever the queue is called. Okay, so we just push the object in the back of the queue to get it down here, right? And we want to get the object at the top of the queue. We shift it in JavaScript. So that's what it's called, shift. Okay, I'm just going to put it like this so you can see it. And then I'm going to draw some things. So here we have a, so I'm just going to draw here. So we have it, when it goes into the queue like this, we push it into the queue. And when it comes out of the queue, we shift it out of the queue. That's what happens. Okay, so I push a bunch of bullets onto the queue, and when I want a bullet from the top of the queue, I shift it out. Okay, but what I want to do immediately is do something that looks like this. I want to shift it out of the top of the queue and immediately put it back on the bottom of the queue. Okay, that's what I want. The only bullet that I'm going to use is the one at the top of the queue, this one. Okay, every single time. I'm just going to always look for this bullet. I don't care about the bullets in the middle. When I shift it out of the queue, I'm going to set it to active. When I put it back into the queue, it's going to be inactive. So the only ones that are going to really update are the ones that are in flight. All right, the ones that I've kind of put to the bottom of the queue. Okay, so when I put it back on the bottom of the queue, or whatever, it's going to appear inactive once it leaves. And it's going to keep rotating like this. It's going to keep on using the same bullet over and over again. Okay, does this make sense? So that's how the queue is going to work. Okay, queue is a good structure for this. You can also use a list. You can also use other structures, but it means some other code. And I think this might be the most efficient way of doing an object pool. Okay. Cool, let's do it. Let's code it. So if that's the case, then I need a structure for this. And the structure is going to be some kind of list in JavaScript. It's actually an array list or queue. It acts like all kinds of things. It's a very flexible collection, right? So again, it would be, I would call it would be private. And this would be the bullet pool, right? So it would be called bullet pool, right? And it's going to be of type array. It's going to be an array of a type, which is going to be objects.bullet. Okay. I don't like when it does that, but that's what it does. So that's the array. That's the array type. An array of objects.bullet. And you can also code this differently. You can put bullet array, right? But that's fine too. Okay, so an array of objects.bullet. Okay, my constructor. So here's my constructor. And what I want to do with this is I want to build the bullet pool. So I'm going to use a method to do that. So we're going to call this method, it's going to be private, and then build bullet pool. That's the method name. It's going to return void. Okay, I'm going to call it from my constructor. Okay, there it is. So build bullet pool, a constructor, do this kind of stuff. And what it's going to do, excuse me, is it's going to call the bullet pool, and I need to make a new container. So it's a new array, oops, of type objects.bullet. Okay. Erg. And of course it would look like this. Okay, so this creates an empty container. Creates an empty container. That's what it does. There's nothing inside of this pool right now. All right, it's just literally just an empty box. All right, it's actually, if we go back to what I was drawing, it's just the outside, just the box. There's nothing inside. There's no bullets. I want to load it with bullets, right? And in order for me to do that, I need to decide how many. And for now, we're going to use 50. So up here, I'll call this private. We'll call this bullet number. Bullet number, which is a number. Okay, and for now we're going to initialize that as 50, and we might be able to put this on the config one day. So we'll say initialize bullet number. So the bullet number will be this dot underscore bullet number. Wow. Really bad today. Is equal to 50. So we're going to say it's 50 bullets starting off, right? So 50 bullets, right? And then what I want to do is I want to run some kind of for loop. So for loop where I count how many bullets and that the bullets are less than this dot underscore bullet number. Okay? And then what I want to do is I want to use that first part, which is let's make a new bullet. Let bullet equal to new objects.bullet. Okay, so a new bullet gets created. And then what I want to do is when the bullets get created, I want to add it to the pool with the push. So this dot underscore bullet pool dot push. And I want to pass in the bullet. Okay, so that adds 50 bullets to the bullet pool, right? When I call this function bullet pool, build bullet pool, it actually does all this. It actually pushes a bunch of bullets to the back of the bullet pool. All right? Are you with me? Guys, I need some kind of acknowledgement. If any one of you can just say, yes, I'm good. Because I don't know if you guys are with me or you're not paying attention or even if you're alive right now.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, so now that we've got this bullet pool, awesome. Right, we've got this thing it gets you know, kind of set up. Now let's think about what we need to do. I need to get a bullet from the bullet pool, and then I want to return a bullet to the bullet pool. I want those two functions. So let's make them public for now. So there's two public functions. So we'll say public get bullet, right? I want to get a bullet. And what this is going to do is return a type objects dot bullet. That's the return type. Okay. So what I want is I want to say that a couple things when I get a bullet. I'm going to say that let my bullet that I want to return, I want to get it from the pool. So this dot underscore bullet pool. Right, here's my bullet pool. Dot shift. Remember we said that's the method. And I want to shift from the top of the pool. I want to get a bullet. And then what shift does, if you notice, it says it returns the first element, removes it from the array and returns it. So then it's gone. It's removed from the array. Okay? So then it restores it there. And then what I want to do is I want to put it back, right? But I want to return that bullet. So I'm going to say that this dot underscore bullet pool dot push. I want to push it back on. So what does this do? It moves it from the front to the back. That's what it does. Okay? From the front to the back. And then I want to return that bullet, a reference to it. Return bullet. And you're going to say, wait. Why would you want to do this, right? Well, because if I did this, if I return it back into the pool, this get bullet thing keeps returning back into the pool, right? The great thing about this is that the bullet is going to become, so I move it out, I get a bullet, and when I get the bullet, and the question for you is, should I make it active now, or should I wait for the control, whoever's calling it, to make it active? And really, it's up to you, because we're going to have to do this make active every single time. As once I call the bullet, I have to make it active for me to use it, right? And the right thing to do is, hey, when I'm calling it, make it active, right? So I think that's the right thing to do. So get the bullet, make it active, is equal to true, right? Push the bullet back onto the pool for now, but at the back of the pool. So this moves it to the back pool. So this get a bullet from the front of the pool, right? And when I say move, I say remove. Remove a bullet from the front of the pool. set it to active, and then push a bullet to the back of the pool. Okay, so those are the steps. And then of course I'm going to return a reference. So this is return a reference to the active bullet. So that is my get bullet function. And I only do this one. So active, the thing is, if it's either active or inactive. So whenever I call, hey, give me a bullet, it's going to take it from the pool, right? It's going to shift it out of the pool, make it active. So again, let's just change this. Set active, set bullet as active, bullet active. So somewhere out here, we're going to set the bullet active, right? And once the bullet is set active, it's pushed back into the pool. Now, when does it become inactive? When it leaves the screen, when it hits something, then it becomes inactive again. And if it's inactive, it also resets off the screen. Okay, so that's kind of how it works, this bullet pool idea. Okay, so that's the get bullet method. The other thing is we need a method that allows me to add the bullets, all the bullets, to a spot on the scene. Okay, so I want to make a method, public, and we'll say add. This is what the method's going to be called. Add bullets to the scene, to scene. Okay, so add bullets to scene, and we want a reference to the scene that we're going to add the bullets to. So we want a scene, whatever the scene is called, and then it's going to be of type objects.scene. And what we're going to say is I want a for loop, right? So a for each loop, let's say, for each this dot underscore bullet pool, for each bullet in the bullet pool, that's how you read this, right? Then I want to make that bullet add into the scene. So I'm going to say scene.addChild bullet. Okay, so whatever the scene is, I want to add that bullet to the scene. Those bullets, all the bullets. Okay? So the whole bullet pool. And I'm separating this from instantiation because where I instantiate and where I add them could be different, which I'll show you later. Okay, we need one more method to make our object pool semi-complete. And the one method that we need is the update method. So we have this one, add bullets, we have get bullets, right? I have my build bullet pool, which is private, and I need something that updates. And I'll make this method update. Here's update. Update. Wow. Okay, yeah. My update method. And my update method, notice I probably should just name them properly like everything else. Add bullets to scene. These are private, so that's okay. Update should be basically updating the entire bullet. So I'm going to say I'm going to do another for each. Here's for each. And we can say that this is this dot underscore bullet pool, right? So for each bullet in the bullet pool, update the bullet. Okay? Update that bullet. So then all I have to do is, instead of updating each individual bullet, I can update the entire bullet pool. But actually, remember what's happening. It's only going to update the bullets that are active. The bullets that are inactive, they're going to be at -1000, -1000. Okay, so that's what this bullet pool does. Okay, so that's really it in a nutshell. There might be some additions we have to make here, but so far so good. Any questions around this? Okay, some people coming, some people going. But hopefully you guys are okay with this part. All right, let's continue. So in order for me to make this active, I need to add this on to my index.html. So this is a manager, and I'm going to add this in here. So I'm going to say script, source, wow, source dot slash scripts managers slash bullet, nope, slash, yeah, bullet, that's right. All right, so that is the bullet manager. Okay, and the bullet manager is going to be now added to the scene. Okay, I haven't tested it yet. I haven't tested this yet, but I'm going to put it up on GitHub because there's a lot of changes that I made. So I'm going to put this up. So added first draft of bullet manager. So it's not quite done, but I'm adding the first draft of the bullet manager to the scene and to the project, right? Wow, did I not stage everything? Added bullet manager. That's weird. I guess they didn't. Okay, and push. Okay. Time-wise, I think we're doing A-okay. So now, now that we've pushed this up on GitHub, you should have my code for troubleshooting purposes. And this is where we're going to have some challenges, right? Like always. So in my scenes, I'm going to go to my play scene now, and I'm going to get rid of my bullets. So I don't want the bullet anymore. But remember that in the same positions that we had them, this little bullet here, it's the same thing that I want to do for bullet firing. Okay, and you can see that I don't want to update individual bullets anymore, and I don't want to instantiate or add single bullets. I want to do this with a bullet manager. Okay, so how is this going to look? Right? And did I make a mistake? I did. It doesn't look like it. It shows me there's an error there, but let's try it. So I want a new manager. So private. It's going to be called bullet manager, which is going to be of type managers.bullet. Okay, that's what I want. Inside the start method, it doesn't matter where I do it. I'll just do it right here. I'll say this dot bullet manager is equal to a new managers.bullet. Okay, so far. And then what I want to do is I want to update all the bullets. So I'm going to say this dot underscore bullet manager dot update. So whenever I'm updating the bullets, they'll be updated here, right next to the plane, because I want to put the plane and the bullets on the same level, right? For me, I want them to be kind of underneath the clouds, and this is where I'm going to add them in. So ocean, island, plane, bullets. The bullets are going to be just above the plane for now, so I can put them underneath the plane too. But this bullet manager, right? Dot add bullets to scene. I'm going to pass in a reference to that scene. Okay, so that's the scene that I'm going to pass in. Okay, so instead of add child, I made a special method to add all the bullets to the scene. Okay, that's what this does. Okay, so that does everything, but we don't have any bullets. We don't see any effect of this right now. I need a way to trigger a bullet being fired, and the way to do that is, let's just do it now manually. So I'll make a new bullet inside of main. I'll say, hey, get a bullet, right? And that bullet is the one that I want to make use of. It's going to go up the scene, right? So I can do it anywhere. I can do it in start. I can do it wherever I want. I should be careful that I want to do it after I've added the bullets into the scene. Okay, so I've added again my bullets, and I've added my plane, and then somewhere down in the bottom of my scene here, I want to add a bullet. I want to say that let bullet is equal to this dot bullet manager, right? Here's my bullet manager, and it should be, like I said, inside of the bottom of my main. This dot bullet manager dot get bullet, right? And when I get the bullet, it's set to active automatically, right? The bullet. And that should be good. What did I mess up? What did I mess up? I messed up something. This dot. Oh. Let bullet equal to this dot underscore bullet manager dot get bullet. There. And did I have an error somewhere? I think I've killed a curly brace somewhere or another. So I got a curly brace there. I got a curly brace here for this one. And I hate when that happens. Oh, and I have a curly brace out here, but it looks like I killed a curly brace down here. So let's add a curly brace in here. That should fix me. All right, so that does everything. And this is great. That's why these visual tools are amazing. So it tells you like all the curly braces if they're aligned underneath each other. And that's why I put the curly braces as much as possible so that they're inside kind of a line. So you may think that this is going to do nothing, but actually when I get bullet, because it's already inside of my scene, because I've added all my bullets to the scene, it's going to let this bullet fly. Now, one thing I don't know is what the position of this bullet's going to be. We haven't really specified. So what I can do is I can set it to the bottom of the screen. I can say that bullet, right, dot position, right, is equal to a new vector2 object as an example. And, you know, we can make it so that it's the position of, how about this? We'll make it so it's the position, the same position as the ship. So we'll say that this dot underscore plane dot underscore plane dot position. We'll say it's the same position as the plane for now. Okay, so bullet is in the same position as the plane, and it's going to let fly and see what happens. Okay, so again, going back to the scene here, I'm going to refresh this and start, and we should see a bullet fly, but we didn't. And sometimes we need to refresh again. And wait, what happened? How come there's no bullet? It didn't even come into play. I haven't even seen this thing. I'm pretty mad. Okay, so let's see what happened. Did we get an error? No, we didn't get an error, right? We didn't get an error, but this is like part of our troubleshooting, okay? So again, let's just go here. And sometimes what I want to do is check to see if it's been transpiled. For some reason or another, like sometimes it just doesn't happen. So I'm going to go down here and check to see if I did that bullet position. Yeah, it looks like it transpiled nicely. So this is pretty cool. But sometimes we need to see if this has been reset, right? So again, what we want to do is we want to go to here and refresh. Yeah, this is what I was thinking. And then let's see if that works, right? So yeah, there's no bullet. Like, what happened? How come my bullet didn't appear? And what's happening to this thing, right? How come it's not going? So one thing to do is we can check a couple things, right? We can check a couple things. We can see where the bullet is, because we know it worked before when we put a bullet in the scene. But now we're getting a bullet from the pool, right? So let's see if that's working. So again, what we can do is we can go into our play scene and we can print out the bullet. So we're going to say, okay, fine, we added everything. Give me a console log of that bullet. Am I getting the bullet? Okay, so this is part of the challenge that we have. Okay, so do we have a bullet? Because this should be returning a type of bullet. We've already added all the bullets to the scene, right? There's adding bullets to the scene, right? We added all the bullets to the scene. Every bullet, right? And then, great, after we added all the bullets to the scene, then we have a bullet that came back, this bullet, and then what is that bullet that we're printing out? We should see it, right? And let's see what happens. Do we actually see this thing come up? So again, going back to this and refresh, and I go to console and I start, then I got a bullet, right? Here's my bullet. So I have a bullet. It talks about where it is, -1000, -1000. That's the X and Y position right now. Okay, here's my X and Y position. And once I've got it, right, then what I want to do is set the position. So my position is like off screen. That's what it's showing. So So why is that the case? So let's see what that means for us. So, hey, look, my bullet position is equal to the plane dot position, and maybe there is no plane position right now. So maybe that's why it's happening. Let's just make it a new vector. So I'll say that my bullet position is a new vector2 object, which is going to be 320 by 240 in the middle of the screen somewhere, so we can see it come up. Okay, new objects.vector2. Okay, there it is, 320 by 240. And let's see if this works now. So again, we're going to go back to the scene, and we're going to rerun this thing. Let's try that one more time. Okay, we're going to go to console and start. Okay, that's it. We saw the bullet now, right? So we can see that the bullet now is minus 1,000, minus 1,000, but originally it wasn't. Let's try this again. So again, going back to console, right, and running it. And now let's look up here to see if we see the bullet, right? So we see the bullet. There it is, and it runs off screen, and we're good to go. So it came from the bullet pool. All right, which is good. This is a good thing. All right. All right. So now we know this shifted out of the bullet pool and was pushed back into the bullet pool. All right, that's what happened. Okay, cool. So we know this function works. Now we want to make a way for the plane to do this. I want, when I press the button, for now I want to make the plane just fire bullets nonstop. That's what I want to do. Nonstop. Let's just keep firing all the time. All right. So in order for me to make the plane do this, though, I need access to this bullet manager somehow, globally, right? I don't want to pass the bullet manager to the plane class. That doesn't make any sense, right? I want the plane to have access to the bullet class, the bullet manager class, from anywhere. So I don't want to do this here. What I want is for me to add an object to the global config game object. Let's go there. So I'm going to go to definition. So it's going to bring me to this global area. And I want to make a new manager, a reference to the new manager called the bullet manager. So I want to say that public static. So it's bullet manager. That's what it is really, right? Bullet manager, which is of type number. Oh, sorry, managers.bullet. Okay, so there it is, bullet manager. And what I want is for the bullet manager to be set. When I call in the play scene, just like I've done here, I want to do the same thing with the bullet manager. Config.game.bullet manager is equal to this _, bullet manager. So that's what that's going to do, is make a reference to this new bullet manager that I just created. And now that I have this reference, right, I can use this in my plane class. So let's go back to my plane as an example. So again, back to the plane. Here's my plane. Back to the plane. So what I want is for the plane to have a fire method, kind of a fire bullet method or something like that, right? And I can do that by, for now, and this is just for now, this is temporary, okay? So I want to make a new public method. It's going to be public for now, and we're going to call this fire bullets, let's say. And the fire bullets method is going to be called every frame after update. So I'm going to say this _, fire bullets. I'm going to fire as many bullets as I can every frame. Okay? And firing bullets is going to be like this. I'm going to say, hey, I want a new bullet. Let bullet, just like we did before, let my bullet equal to, hey, config.game config.game bullet manager, right, get bullet. I want to get a bullet from the bullet manager, right? Once I get it, it's set to active, and now I want to position it in front of the plane, the plane's spawn point. I don't have a spawn point. Let's make one. So again, up here, I'm going to make a new spawn point, private spawn. I'll call it bullet spawn, and it'll be of type objects.vector2. Okay, so it's a vector2 object bullet spawn. And what we want to do is we want to move the bullet spawn object with the plane. So every frame, when I move my plane, I'm also going to move my spawn point. So it's going to be like this. This dot underscore bullet spawn is equal to a new vector2 object, which is going to be the position of my plane, which is this dot position dot x, and then this dot position dot y, okay, minus, I want to move it up half the height of the plane, this dot half height, minus some amount, okay, so something like minus 10, okay, not the whole size of the bullet, but you know, something like that, minus 10. So this is the new bullet spawn location. Every frame, the bullet spawn is going to update, because wherever my plane moves, so does the bullet spawn. And what I'm going to say is that I want the bullet, right, bullet dot position, right, is going to be equal to this dot underscore bullet spawn. Okay, so that is the position of the bullet. The bullet position is the bullet spawn position. Okay, and that's every frame. So fire bullets is going to happen every frame, and it's going to be you know, making a bullet. But this is going to create like a hose-like effect. If it works well, it's literally going to be like a hose, like an open hose that's firing. And let's see how this looks. Because this is like every frame as fast as possible. And there's not enough bullets for that. Okay. So let's try this out. And I'm just going to go back to this and refresh and start. And we should see a hose of bullets, right? It's a neat effect, but this is not what we want, right? This is like a hose of bullets. And notice it starts like way out here, right? And that's not kind of what I expected it to do. I think we need to move this back a little bit more. So let's redo that, and let's, instead of it being the bullet spawn location is half height plus 10, let's just move it to half height, and let's see how good that looks. Might be something else. So again, let's try that now. You can see it's like a little better, right? So it's like kind of right there, and that kind of is at the front of the plane. All right. If you want these bullets to be off screen, and if you think this is like kind of the effect that you want, I mean, it's so fast that it's triggering as many bullets as possible. It's almost like a bullet trail. Look, right? It's a bullet trail, right? It's kind of a neat little effect, like you know, whatever. But it's not what we wanted, obviously, right? So if you want, you can increase the number of bullets. If you go to Bullet Manager, right? Right now I have 50 bullets. Let's make it 100 bullets, right? Here's 100 bullets. Is that enough to get it off the screen? You should kind of have enough bullets so that way it can last, so it moves off the screen. You can see now that those bullets are off screen. It kind of keeps moving, right? Like a big chain of bullets, like off screen. This does not really what we want, right? But I'm just showing you this is kind of what you can do, right? All right. So we know that the Bullet Manager is working. You see that like one bullet that's moving up? That's because that's the one bullet that's back into the pool every single time. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. But what we want is for the plane not to fire bullets so often, but once every, let's say, 10 frames. Okay, so the way to do that is to use the ticker function. So we can say that if create.js.ticker, right, .getTicks is when you divide it by 10, so modulus 10 is equal to 0, so every 10 frames, because that happens. What this getTicks function does is it returns a number of frames, so 400 frames, 500 frames, 600 frames. We divide that number by 10. Every 10th frame, when you can divide the frames evenly by 10, it'll give you a 0 remainder. When the remainder is 0, then you want to be able to fire bullets. So this is every 10 frames now we want to fire bullets, okay? So fire bullets every 10 frames. That's what this does. And let's try this out now and see if that works. So you can see now we got some bullets and they're firing and they're leaving the screen, and we have 100 bullets and they just keep firing out of the ship slowly, forever and ever. Those keep firing. And it looks like we're making new bullets, but actually we know, you know, and I know that there's only a limited amount of bullets. We're still only firing these hundreds of bullets, 100 bullets at a time. Let's see what happens if we only have a smaller amount of bullets. Let's say we only have 10 bullets. Is that enough? Right? And again, you can experiment with the right number. So if I go to bullet manager and I reduce this number to 10, right? And if I do it again, now you can see I have 10 bullets, right? And, right? Still might be okay for 10 bullets if I do this. Still looks okay. Yay. Let's make sure that there's only 10. So I'm going to refresh and do that again. Because there's like, it kind of is enough to move out of the screen. Like with 10 bullets, you're good, right? Now, let me tell you this. There's probably going to be a case where 10 bullets is not going to be enough, okay? Just not enough. So a nice healthy number like 100 is probably going to be more than what you need, okay? This is just for the bullet pool. Imagine if also, though, that you had not just bullets coming from below, but also your enemies fire bullets downwards towards you, okay? So that's a totally different scenario, where if your enemies can fire bullets to you, now maybe you need more than just 10 bullets. Okay, so 100 bullets is more than enough. Now, you might be concerned that, you know, I'm loading up all these bullets, but this is in effect what we're doing is we're preloading. We're populating the scene with as many bullets as we think is possible that we need, and then reusing them. This is a much better, is less computationally expensive to do it this way than to actually add, a series of bullets later on. Okay. Questions around bullet manager. Let me put this up. This is semi-complete at this point. Let me put this up. Okay, so these are all the changes I made, and I'll say so second draft of bullet manager. That's the second draft. There's still some change we need to make, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Push. Any questions at all? Again, this looks all nice and easy and stuff, but the challenge that we're going to face now is how do we fire a bullet by pressing a space bar or something else? How do we do that, right? And that is the topic of the next part, so we're going to stop recording just briefly right now. It's about 3 o'clock. I'm going to take a short break, let's say about 15 minutes. So we're going to come back at 3:25, let's say. And then we're going to talk about the next part, which is creating some input manager, a keyboard manager, that allows me to get input from the keyboard every frame. Okay, so let's take a short break, and then we'll get back to that. Okay? Again, I'm going to stop recording this session on YouTube, and I'll take some questions from you now live in a second. So I'm going to go back to YouTube and end my stream.